This massive river monster is one of the world's largest freshwater fish. This is an arapaima, and today we're gonna teach you how to fillet it. This thing is insane. Absolute armor. This knife, super sharp. I can't even puncture those scales. That's how strong the scales are. We are not going to try to cut through the scales. We're going to slide our knife underneath the scales. So we're gonna go like this, and with your knife sliding underneath the scales, you're able to access the meat. Now, real quick, I wanna show you guys. Look how teeny tiny the gills are on this massive fish. This fish cannot rely on these gills to breathe. They're way too small. So it has a modified swim bladder that acts as a lung, and this fish breathes air. Absolutely insane. We're gonna show you that swim bladder once we get them all cut up. We're gonna pick up his fin here and continue sliding underneath those scales. As you can see, we're able to access the meat without having to cut through those scales. Look at these things. I've heard that people even have used them as spearheads in the Amazon rainforest. We're just peeling away underneath the scales here. That way we have easier access to the meat. I wanna find his spine right here. I want to try to rest my knife on top of it and see if we can get through these scales inside out. Scales are often a lot softer on the inside, and look at that. We're actually able to cut through some of these things with just our knife from hitting the inside instead of the outside. We're gonna keep working our way down just like this. So we're going forward, then a little bit of pressure outward, just like that. Look at that, that's so crazy. We're not eating the skin on this fish, so there's no reason to go through all of the hard effort of scaling the entire thing. After we fillet it, we're gonna skin it. So if we're able to fillet it without taking all the scales off, since we're gonna skin it anyway, we're saving a ton of effort. Okay, we've worked our entire way down. Now, we're able to start cutting the inside like any other fish without resistance from the scales. Just like any other fish, you wanna make sure you're on top of the skeleton. The arapaima is one of the largest freshwater fish on Earth. Arapaima comes from the Amazon basin in places like Brazil, Peru, and Guyana. Rest your knife right on top of that skeleton and pull towards the head, letting that skeleton guide your knife so that way you don't lose out on any of that delicious arapaima meat. Did you expect it to be that white? Because that is absolutely gorgeous looking. All right, we want to gently go up to the top of those ribs. We do not want to puncture the belly and get any of that stomach bile on this beautiful white arapaima meat. Arapaima is a true river monster. This fish can grow over 10 feet long and weigh nearly 500 pounds. For years, arapaima was overfished because of its delicious white meat. But now, thanks to local conservation efforts, arapaima are making a big comeback. So this fish right here is farm raised. We got it in just so we can show you guys how to clean one. What we just did is we cut through those bones, separating the connection that they make to these ribs. That way we can slide over those ribs nice and easy, just like this. We want to go to the top of that center spine, nice and smooth. That way we can dip our knife on the other side of it. We're losing out on as little of that arapaima meat as possible. And just like that, there is our massive arapaima fillet. Now the fun part, trying to disconnect the scales from this side as well. On the tail, it's gonna be a little bit easier. We're gonna puncture and slide out just like that. It's gonna lay a little flatter. Just like before, we're gonna be essentially scaling it from the inside out. But now we can pull the meat while we do this cut. Once those scales get loose, we can cut through the soft skin underneath them, and the scales are just falling away. Whew! Fire up the grill, because there's one massive arapaima fillet. I'm almost as excited to eat it as I was to clean it. All right, we're gonna get this out of the way and hit the other side. With filleting, everything's just always about the right angle. You can have the toughest scales in the entire world, and it's defenseless when you just hit the sweet spot. All right, so we're gonna puncture right underneath the spine. Repeat the process we did on the other side. It's actually gonna be even easier on this side. The meat is thinner down by the tail, so you don't want to go too deep with your knife and lose out on any of that meat. We can come back up to the top, dip your knife underneath, angling your blade slightly up. You want your knife resting on the other side of that skeleton and pull. You can only make those long motions when you feel the skeleton with your knife. Feeling the skeleton is telling you that you're not missing out on any of that delicious arapaima meat. Now we're making a nice, long, smooth incision right at those ribs. come down right here, release this piece of head meat, and now as you can see on this side, it's just gonna lay down right in front of you. We're cutting through the pin bones now that are connecting to those rib bones at the top of the red. So where the red is, that's the bloodline. You've got a pin bone that is connecting to the top of those ribs. You wanna cut through those first. So it feels like you're cutting through the ribs, but you're not. You're just cutting through those pin bones. Here's the last of those pin bones right here. Now we're gonna stick the tip of our knife on the other side of that spine. Wanna feel the skeleton with your knife as you work through to the other side. That way you can read right through that skeleton there. Cleaning this fish is a workout. Now we're going to puncture through just like that. You can see the knife poking out right there. Cut right through just like that. We're gonna do it again. Poke out, puncture through. Now we are ready to separate off our fillet. And as long as you're pulling while you're making these motions, that fillet is just gonna keep peeling away. One more. Whew. Arapaima fillet number 2. We're now gonna start cutting open the stomach to check out that modified swim bladder. It is the craziest thing you've ever seen. Oh, there we go. We just got to the bottom of the ribs. Looks like we've got some arapaima caviar in here. Look at that. Get the bellinis and creme fraiche. We've got green arapaima caviar. I'm actually kind of liking the way this belly looks. So far, the only stain we have is sitting on that membrane. If we can keep it that way, keep this nice and clean. All right, we're outlining the rib bones to go to the bottom of the belly of the beast. We're at the bottom of the ribs. Now we're able to just puncture it. Take this whole thing off just like that. We got a little bit of the stomach on the belly, so we want to get that rinsed off real quick. This is not the bile, just a little bit of the belly. Totally safe as long as you get it rinsed off real quick. We are going to shave the membrane off of this belly now. Get right underneath it. Make nice long motions, but it's easier to take off if you don't cut through it in a bunch of pieces. So we're trying to keep it nice and smooth, going right underneath that membrane. Then we can start lifting on it and pulling it away. This membrane is going to be thicker and tougher than a lot of fish you're used to cutting, so you can apply a little bit of pressure to it. You still don't want to apply much pressure to it, so you don't want to cut through it and then have to try to come back and take it off in multiple pieces. And then taking this off will be nice and smooth. You just cut right at the base. And there you go, just like that, we got all the arapaima belly meat. We've got both sides of the belly attached in one cut like this. I cannot wait to get this on the grill. You're not gonna believe what this modified swim bladder looks like. It looks like a real human lung, kinda, like a dissected human lung. Let's cut this membrane away. Look at this. This fish can breathe air. This is truly, absolutely insane. All right, you guys know there's no way I'm gonna leave these collars behind. We're gonna puncture underneath those gills and slide towards the throat. We're gonna repeat the process on the other side. Oh yeah, this is gonna be a nice, meaty throat right here. Like we were saying earlier, there's always a sweet spot. That sweet spot on the collar is right there. Now we're not having to fight through this armored beast. All right, now we wanna roll them over, find the sweet spot over here, and just like that, we got that whole collar removed. All right, there's our collar. All right, we're gonna skin this guy. Wanna just get a good starting point underneath the skin, and you can apply as much pressure down onto the skin as you want. You're not gonna cut through it. So you don't need a flat knife. Your knife can be angled down the entire time. And we're gonna work from the outside in a little bit, just because you get a really good starting point on the outside, and there's a little bit of curve to the skin. And if you just lay your knife flat and run all the way down, that curve is gonna get in your way, and we don't wanna lose out on any of this delicious arapaima meat. The skin is a little bit more delicate at the tail, so you don't want your knife angled down too hard, otherwise you'll cut through the skin towards the tail. There is our skinless arapaima. Now we're going to remove the pin bones. This is all meat right here. No bones here, but the bone line is going to run down like this. So we're gonna go right next to this bone line and run down, just like so. These bones curve towards the outside of the fillet like that. They don't go straight up and down. They go straight up and down right here. And then as you get further down those bones curve. If you've ever filleted a golden corvina pin bones curve like this as well. So this right here is all bone, and it curves all the way down to there. Pretty cool. Look at that. Beautiful, massive, boneless, skinless arapaima loin. We're gonna go on the other side of that pin bone line. They don't also curve this way, so this time you can go straight down. And there you go, there's the pin bone line right there. Now we're gonna go on both sides of this bloodline to get the rest of the good meat out. You don't have any curved bones, so you just cut straight down to the skin. There's the inside of the low loin, and there's the outside of the low loin. This arapaima skin is absolutely awesome looking. I would love to make something cool out of this. This high loin is so large and beautiful, you can actually medallion it out like a wahoo. So we're gonna square off the front first. We're going for about 1.25 inch thick steaks. Look how gorgeous that is. All right, time for the yield to see how much good meat we're able to get off of this fish. We're gonna tear out this bucket, we're at 0, and we're gonna take all this boneless, skinless meat, throw it inside here. This is from half of the arapaima. We're gonna leave the skin on the other half and try to cook it up with a skin on, scales on, and then eat it off the skin. But I was really curious to see what the boneless, skinless yield would be. So there is every part we got off of the first fillet, and that's 12.45 pounds, almost 12.5 pounds, boneless, skinless. So we've got 24, almost 25 pounds of fillet that's boneless, skinless, and that is off of a 91-pound fish. That is a garbage yield. I can't wait to try it anyway. All right, we've got all the different parts of our arapaima, and we're gonna get it all cooked up for you. We've got our Rectech preheating. We're gonna season it really simply because we wanna taste the fish. We've got Mrs. Dash Original. If you know, you know. This is not sponsored at all. There is no salt in this. We're gonna have to add salt afterwards, but we're just gonna sprinkle this all over. We take the entire top off because we got a lot of fish to cover. Gonna get it all over this collar here, and we've got this huge log of a high loin. Got a little bit of the low loin right here, and the bone is still in there. The reason why we left that on, as you saw when we're cleaning it, the bones are curving underneath. So if I took the bones out, then I would have had to make an opening all the way down to the middle, which wouldn't have left much skin underneath. And I want a lot of skin to cover the surface, so that way it holds moisture in. When cleaning this fish, it looks really lean. Even the belly looks pretty lean. So I think it's gonna need all the help it can get to help hold moisture, and that's what skin is really good at. And there's no salt in that Mrs. Dash, so we're going to cover our arapaima in some sea salt. Now my biggest dilemma is figuring out how to fit as much of this fish onto this smoker as we can. All right, we're gonna close this up. These medallions are gorgeous, but you see these white lines? That is sinew. Sinew is a fiber that's in the muscle of the fish that is going to be chewy, and I've cut a smaller arapaima, and that fiber is much smaller. So the larger this sinew fiber gets, or the thicker it is, the more chewy it could be. So I'm really curious to see. They feel kind of tough, not gonna lie. We're gonna test it out though. The meat looks really nice. I just think it's gonna be steaky, kind of like a swordfish. Swordfish, their sinew lines are a lot thicker like this towards the tail. Whereas on this arapaima, it has these thick sinew lines right in the center of the high loin, which is supposed to be, the most tender part of the fish. All right, now that we've got this cooked part of the way through, look at those scales puffing up. That is crazy. Look at that high loin. It's like lifted off of the skin. We can throw these bad boys in here now. All right, we'll close this up, and by the time those medallions are fully cooked, everything else should be good to go. Now, collar meat is typically my favorite part of the entire fish, but on this arapaima, the collar doesn't look super fatty. It looks like it's gonna be a little bit leaner, and it has interesting flake lines. I'm really curious to see how it tastes. All right, let's check on it. Woo! That is what we want. Look at that gorgeous crust. Oh my God, it is feeling nice and pillowy. It does not feel like it's going to be chewy. I'm so excited to try this. Look at that collar bubbling up. Oh my God, those fins are absolutely toast. Luckily, we don't need to eat the fins. Oh yeah, look at that. Woo! We are looking good. Nice crispy outside, super moist, juicy inside. That's what we want to see right there. Woo, this is hot. Oh yeah, white, juicy. Those are ready to come off. Look at that. Let's try to get this. Oh. Also, by the way, this is my absolute most favorite spatula. This thing is bad to the bone. No other spatula can take off a 5-pound high loin of arapaima at once, just like that. I'm so excited to see what's happening with this belly. Let's see if we can, oh yeah. We're gonna need a second spatula. Dripping out juices right there. Those are juices being released from where it broke. So that just shows that that skin was able to hold in all that moisture. Oh, woo! That is a perfect fit on that platter. I don't want to hear otherwise. This looks like a roast. This looks so crazy. Also, I don't know if you can hear it, but the snap, pop, and crackle that's coming out of this fish is insane. All right, we're gonna go straight in the middle, see if it's perfectly cooked, under, over, what do we got going on here? Oh my God, look at that. I'd say that is perfectly cooked. Super juicy. We even have a little bit of a smoke ring going on. That's insane. There's enough fat between the meat and the skin that helped hold this super moist. This thing is literally dripping juices. Super mild, not gamey at all. These slices would make a great sandwich. Let's check out the medallions. All right. Oh, that's banging. All right, next up, we're going on to this beast of a belly. We're gonna go straight for the middle, open it up. Look how moist that is. You know, I said it didn't look like it was a very fatty belly, but boy, does it say otherwise when you open it up. The texture of it honestly looks pretty terrible. We're gonna try it out, see how it goes. It's not bad, but a little more gamey than the rest of the fish. Boy, I mean, the cook on this is gorgeous. Like, really nice crust and obviously still very moist on the inside there. Let's pull it apart. Oh yeah, look at that. The collar, a little more flavorful also, not quite as much as the belly, but that could also hold up to a little bit more seasoning. Something sweet, something spicy, something tangy. Asian flavors would go great on the collars and belly of the arapaima. But this high loin, super mild. This is like grouper snapper level mild without the nice texture of grouper snapper when it's cooked as a whole roast like this. But when you cut into medallions, it actually firms up a bit because you're putting a little bit of crust on both sides, which is helping it texturally. And this is actually my favorite. Well, now you know what to do next time you have an arapaima sitting in your kitchen. Thanks for watching. Have a killer day.